Hi, it's Stephen here from Son of a Nation Wave, and this is day 23 of the September Daily Draws. So let's see what message we get today, and I'll be taking the first card from the Mystic Pilot Tarot Mutual Edition, followed by an Oracle card from the Seasons of the Witch Mabon Oracle. So let's choose our first card and get the reading underway. Here we go. So this is the Hierophant card. So maybe we're thinking about our beliefs. What do we truly believe, and maybe we're learning something to do with our spirituality. Maybe we've got some spiritual lessons to learn. This, of course, does represent traditional teachings passed down, the keys of learning. This is very much a sort of a Christian, certainly a Catholic Pope kind of image. But in general, it's about traditions, institutions, about passing down teachings and traditions. So we may be learning about some spiritual traditions in whatever spiritual path that we walk. It doesn't have to be a Christian path. It could be any kind of path. But we're learning some teachings, some principles. We may also be developing our own sense of spirituality that evolves from more established belief systems. That it's not restricted in the traditional sense, that we can think outside the box, spiritually speaking. And maybe that's something that we may need to consider. What do we truly believe? And are our beliefs fitting with the path that we're walking? And also, even if we believe some traditional principles of whatever walk of spirituality that we follow, how are we living those out? How are we expressing those spiritual principles? We can still take a traditional principle of spiritual truth or belief, a teaching that's been passed down, that people have been found to work for their system of belief. And we can take that, but we don't necessarily have to apply it and express it always in the same way that it was done in the past. We still keep the principle, but the way that we express it and live it out can change and evolve with each generation that takes hold of those traditions. And indeed, as it passes to each individual, because our individual paths may have a lot in common, but they, at all intents and purposes, have something about it that's just unique to that individual. So what it applies to me may apply to you differently. The principle may still be there, but the way you live it out may be different to the way that I live that same principle out in my life. And so this card is coming to question about what kind of belief system do we have? What do we truly believe? And how does that connect with our day-to-day living and the journey that we're on and what we're trying to achieve? How does the spiritual dimension and our belief system impact, if at all, what we do and who we are? And these are questions that perhaps we're asking ourselves today, and how we can underpin all our other efforts and our other means of working towards our creative goals and whatever we want to achieve and how we want to grow, there'll be underlying principles that can underpin that and help that and help us produce that. But what are they, and how are we going to apply them to our life in the here and now? And that is what the Hierophant is asking of us. I think so. I think today's daily draw, in this sense, with the tarot card of the Hierophant, is more of a not of a guidance or a suggestion of how we're to approach something, but more of a questioning, a prompt for us to question ourselves, because only we can answer the question of, well, can we? Do we know what we believe? Entirely. Maybe we're to stop and think about what we believe, what we truly believe, and what principles we adhere to, which things we have experience with that have helped us in the past. And can we express them in the same way, or do we need to let them evolve into another form of expression? Still the underlying principle, as I said, but it's about our belief system and how it applies to the day-to-day of our lives. And that's what we're thinking about. That's what this draw is about. This is what the Hierophant is asking us to consider. And my answer is going to be totally different to your answer. So, I can't say this is what it means for you, because I don't know you, whoever's watching this. I've got all on working out for myself. But that's the key. We are to ask ourselves that question and listen for the answers, and to honestly answer that question. And it will give us there's no right and wrong answer, it's what we truly believe at the time, and then the implications of that, of how we apply it to our lives. And that is what the card is asking us to consider today, and how this plays into all the aspects of our life. Okay, so let's see which oracle card we get to go with that. And of course, yesterday we had the Seven of Wands, the stand your ground, keep calm and stand your ground card. And, when we understand what we believe and our spiritual principles, underlying principles behind that conviction, that helps us to stand our ground. That can help us to stand our ground. So it just follow on from yesterday. Okay, here we go. Mountain cabin. Look at that, mountain cabin. Maybe we need to have almost like an hermit moment. Maybe where we draw aside, away from things, out in the wilderness, the mountains, in the cabin. There are times when solitude, again, a hermit moment, can be healing and enlightening. So maybe we need to take a moment aside to consider our belief system and how it applies in the here and now of our daily lives. Maybe that's what this reading is about. So it's taking we may not have to literally go to like a cabin out in the woods on the mountains, a mountain cabin, but if we can, that's great. But, the equivalent, the equivalent of that, of drawing aside and considering the implications of our beliefs and how we can apply them and how they can help us do what we need to do. And I believe that is what these cards are saying to us today. Okay, so that's today's message. I'll be back tomorrow with day 24. Until then, thank you for listening. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again very soon. Okay, bye-bye.